Imagine a company hands you their new brand name, and instead of a catchy jingle or a friendly logo, they just hand you a literal physics equation.
Right, like a mathematical proof, just to justify how the thing is spelled.
Exactly. Today, we are staring at a brand name that looks less like a word you're supposed to say out loud and more like someone just, accidentally dropped a heavy book on their keyboard.
Yeah, it's, the spelling is F-Siis.
Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We have a highly unique stack of internal documents for this project operating under this baffling banner.
We've got an internal brand pronunciation guide, a conceptual business document, and a visual matrix mapping human organization.
And the mission here is to decode this typo of a name, right? We're going to uncover the unexpectedly profound multiphysics framework hiding right behind it.
Because it creates this immediate sense of cognitive friction.
Yeah.
We expect modern marketing to just be frictionless, right?
Right.
You see an Apple, the company's called Apple. But what we are looking at in today's stack of sources isn't a quirky oversight. They are mathematically proving why that friction is necessary.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we've all encountered brand names we don't know how to say, but the most immediate problem here is, how on earth do you say a word spelled F-S-I-I-S?
Which is the biggest hurdle. The visual confusion of the spelling is intentional, but the documents show it demands a very precise auditory execution.
Yeah, I am so glad they included an internal pronunciation guide, because my brain immediately wants to say, like, F-S-I-I-S or Fsiis.
Oh, sure. Fsiis makes sense.
But the rule they outline is incredibly specific. It dictates that the name should sound exactly like the English phrase F-siis, but with the howl completely removed.
So you're just isolating the back end of that phrase.
Right. Let me practice this for you. You take F-siis, remove the howl, F-siis.
Notice the mechanics there. The guide gets highly anatomical about this.
It really does. It requires a quick push of air for the F, so just F-S, and then you slide immediately into a long, smiling E sound.
And then you have to stick the landing.
Yeah, on a sharp, hard S, F-siis.
The ending is the critical anchor point. The documentation explicitly states it must not end in a buzzy Z sound.
So not F-siis.
Right. It is not F-siis. It has to be a crisp, sharp stop.
F-siis. Honestly, it takes a deliberate second to wrap your mouth around it. I mean, English words just do not naturally begin with an F's consonant cluster.
No, they really don't.
Which brings up a glaring question. Why put a massive linguistic speed bump right at the front door of your brand? Like, why would a brand intentionally choose a starting cluster that doesn't naturally exist in English?
Well, what's fascinating here is the aesthetic inspiration behind this reveals the strategy. The sources note the pronunciation is heavily inspired by Finnish phonetic rules.
Oh, okay.
And the Finnish aesthetic is often characterized as straight, sleek, and sharp.
Oh, yeah.
It features two continuous hissing sounds at the front, a long vowel in the middle, and that very crisp finish.
Kind of like Finnish architecture. Very clean, very deliberate, unapologetic lines.
Exactly. And that deliberate nature acts as a filter. You cannot mumble this word. It forces the speaker to slow down and articulate.
Right, you have to think about it.
The friction you feel isn't a mistake. It's a mechanism to demand intentionality from anyone engaging with the project.
And that intentionality is really baked into their strict use cases. The internal guide notes the company has a project called The Game on F-siis. But when you are directing a user to the actual website, Fsiis.org.
Because, the phonetic spelling would be impossible for anyone to guess in a search bar.
Imagine trying to type that. So for the website, the guide draws a hard line. It must be spelled out letter by letter, Fsiis.org.
Right.
You get this fascinating dual identity. The spoken identity is this sleek, sharp Finnish sound, and the written identity is this brutalist block of letters.
Although they do offer a pragmatic escape hatch for those who find the continuous hissing slide too difficult.
Oh, right. I love this part.
Deep in the pronunciation guide, there's a concession. It literally says, if the word is too hard, just say F-sis, it is fine.
It is fine. I love that line. They have this high-minded phonetic ideal, but they acknowledge human limitation. Breaking it into two syllables, F-sis, is the acceptable compromise.
Yeah, they give you an out. So we have established the sound. The natural progression is understanding the structural weight of those specific letters.
Because it's not just a random collection of letters meant to sound vaguely European.
No, every single letter is an active component of a larger philosophy.
Yeah, the documentation points out that the pronunciation F-sis is meant to echo the word physics.
Exactly.
They note it can be thought of as sounding like Fsiis or Fsiis. And this is our entry point into what they call their multiphysics framework for human organizing.
It's like an acronym that unpacks like a Russian nesting doll.
It really is. Let's examine the first layer. The F stands for force, and the sources make a massive underlined point that they are not using this term metaphorically.
And this is where I had to really pause and reread the notes.
Same.
In standard corporate speak, we throw around words like force or momentum constantly. Someone says we need to force this issue, and it just means trying harder.
Right, it's just a buzzword.
But this framework looks at human interaction, specifically in the realm of gaming and organization, as literal physical forces.
The F represents the actual kinetic energy, like the dynamics pushing their platform forward.
Right. Think about what Fsiis is attempting to build. They are merging an academic platform with a game.
Which is a huge collision of cultures.
Exactly. You have the rapid, high dopamine feedback loops of gamers crashing into the slow, rigorous, peer-reviewed structural weight of academia.
Wow.
That collision generates immense organizational friction and raw energy. That is literal force.
But raw force is inherently chaotic, right? Which brings us to the middle letters SI, strategic innovation.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding this, force is the roaring engine of a sports car, but strategic innovation is the steering wheel.
That is a highly accurate mechanism to envision. The steering wheel, or maybe a gyroscope, makes the micro adjustments.
It directs the power.
It channels that raw, chaotic energy of the gamers and the academics and prevents the project from tearing itself apart.
And then when you combine the engine and the steering wheel, you get the final piece, the IS, which stands for innovative strategy.
Which the documents define as the conceptual sweet spot.
This gives us the literal mathematical equation driving the brand name, right? F plus SI equals IS.
Force plus strategic innovation results in innovative strategy.
Put it together and you get Fsiis.
There's also a brilliant linguistic Easter egg hiding in plain sight here.
Oh, the Finnish word.
Yes, and in the Finnish language, the word SiiS translates to therefore or thus.
Wait, really? That is so clever.
It functions as the end of a mathematical proof. Force plus strategic innovation equals therefore.
The logical academic conclusion of their work is built right into the final syllables of the name. So we have the roaring engine and we have the steering wheel. But how does this abstract physics framework actually survive contact with reality?
Well, the sources pivot to the real world of business and technology to show how this multiphysics framework operates on a daily basis.
And it hinges on a clear distinction between two easily confused concepts, right? Efficiency versus effectiveness.
Understanding the difference between these two is pretty much the entire ballgame for the Fsiis model.
The business view in the document is razor sharp on this distinction. Let's look at how the source defines them. Efficiency is defined as doing things right.
Optimizing a process.
Exactly. It means you execute a task wasting absolutely zero time, zero money, and zero energy.
It is the ultimate worship of velocity and optimization.
But effectiveness is defined as doing the right things. This is about choosing the correct goal in the first place.
Right. It means your actions, regardless of how fast or slow they are actually solving the root problem.
The document poses the question of whether you can possess one trait without the other, and the emphatic answer reveals the core danger facing most organizations.
And the source provides this incredibly vivid example, the bridge.
Oh, I loved this part.
Imagine a highly skilled construction team. They operate with flawless efficiency. They build a magnificent bridge.
Best bridge ever.
The engineering is state-of-the-art. They come in massively under budget, and they finish months ahead of schedule. They wasted nothing.
But they built that flawless bridge over a river that absolutely nobody wants to cross.
Exactly. It is a profound failure of effectiveness, masquerading as a triumph of efficiency.
Here's where it gets really interesting for anyone who has ever felt like they were doing busy work. You did things right, but you did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Look at modern tech environments, especially with agile software development. Entire teams are obsessed with their velocity and closing Jira tickets.
Burning through tasks efficiently.
Spinning out perfect code, but they are entirely disconnected from product market fit.
The sources translate this exact scenario into what they call the CTO translation.
Oh, right.
For a chief technology officer, efficiency looks like writing beautifully optimized, lightning-fast, bug-free code that barely touches the server memory. It is a technical marvel.
The rocket booster is firing perfectly.
But the CTO's version of effectiveness is building the specific feature that the gamers and the academic users actually asked for.
Right.
Doesn't matter how beautiful the code is, if it powers a button no one wants to click.
You see this trap everywhere. It demands we look at our own work and ask, am I just building a highly efficient bridge to nowhere?
Exactly. Are you being efficient or are you being effective?
Because the Fsiis framework argues that the ultimate goal is writing perfectly optimized code for the exact right feature, the sweet spot.
You must possess both. If you are highly effective at identifying what gamers want, but your code is laggy and inefficient, the gamers will abandon the platform.
Right, they'll just leave.
And if you write perfect code for a feature the academic users don't need, they will abandon the platform. You must be both efficient and effective.
And that concept of needing both elements simultaneously is where all these sources finally converge into this incredible visual matrix.
This is where it all comes together.
We take the business view of efficiency and effectiveness, and we map it directly back onto the SiiS acronym using the literal physics of vectors.
And this is where the multiphysics claim transcends being just a clever marketing buzzword. In physics, a vector is a quantity that possesses two distinct attributes: magnitude and direction.
So if we map the business concepts back to the physics, force, that F in Fsiis, equals efficiency.
That's your magnitude.
Right, it's the raw energy, the coding speed, the sheer organizational momentum. If your development team is highly efficient, your force vector is massive.
But a massive force vector pointing at a wall is just a spectacular crash.
A very fast crash.
Exactly. This is where strategic innovation, the SI, steps in as effectiveness. That's your direction.
The steering wheel.
That's the gyroscope, ensuring all that raw force is pointed directly at the correct market need or academic goal.
Which means the ultimate goal, the IS, the SiiS-spot, is the perfect vector.
Yes.
The source notes that in physics, calculating work requires the force vector to align perfectly with the direction of movement.
Mm-hmm.
If your force, your internal coding speed, is completely aligned with your strategy, your external user needs, you hit the SiiS-spot. You achieve maximum impact with zero wasted energy.
It represents the ultimate organizational equilibrium.
Okay, I'm looking at this Venn diagram from our notes. What are we seeing with these overlapping circles? The document shows a diagram inside a large boundary box labeled environment.
Right.
Inside that box, there are 3 overlapping circles. One is labeled RBV, one is MBV, and the bottom one is RV.
And right there in the exact dead center where all 3 perfectly overlap is the text SiiS-spot. If we connect this to the bigger picture, while we could map those to traditional business frameworks like resource-based view representing internal capabilities, market-based view for external demands, and relational view for network connections.
Right.
The exact academic definitions of those outer circles matter less than the geometric truth the diagram is conveying.
It feels less like a traditional business matrix and more like a map of gravity. Like the SiiS-spot is the absolute center of gravity where you aren't being pulled apart by competing forces.
The visual message is exactly that. The SiiS-spot does not belong to any single methodology or department.
It's an intersection.
It only exists at the absolute center of converging frameworks within a highly pressured environment.
Wow.
If you lean too far into internal capabilities, your force, you lose the market direction. Lean too far into the market without internal efficiency, you collapse.
Yeah.
The SiiS-spot is the singular point where force and strategy align perfectly amidst all those competing environmental pressures.
So it's not just a brand name, it's a bullseye.
It is the mathematical, physical, and strategic target every organization should be aiming for.
We certainly started in the phonetic weeds today and ended up dissecting a masterclass in physics and business strategy.
There's quite a journey.
We took a confounding, sleek, Finnish-inspired word, Fsiis, a word that intentionally uses friction to demand your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And we unpacked it into a multiphysics framework, combining force, strategic innovation, and the incredibly crucial difference between doing things right, which is efficiency, and doing the right things, which is effectiveness.
It demonstrates that the names we build under can carry immense structural weight if we are intentional about the mechanics behind them.
Totally.
And, there is a deeper implication here regarding how we interact with modern technology. Think about the artificial intelligence tools rapidly flooding our daily lives.
Oh, that's a great point.
They offer unprecedented massive magnitude. They're the ultimate force vectors, capable of performing tasks with terrifying efficiency.
Doing things very, very fast.
But the question the SiiS framework demands we ask is about direction. Look at your own life or your current biggest project.
Yeah.
Are you operating like a perfect vector, hitting your own personal SiiS-spot? Or are you building a beautifully efficient bridge over a river no one wants to cross? Is this hyper-efficient AI actually being effective at solving our root human problems, or is it just generating answers faster?
Right.
Sometimes, to hit our own SiiS-spot, we might actually need to inject a little more of that deliberate phonetic friction back into our automated lives to ensure we are still steering the ship.
A perfect reminder that speed without a destination is just chaos. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the information around you, embrace the productive friction when you find it, and make sure your rocket booster is always connected to your gyroscope. We'll catch you on the next one.